first came to Young Life sophomore year, I kind of got invited by some seniors at the time. We played a lot of sports together, and they just told me to come check it out.
So my first involvement in Young Life was with my mom and my parents when they hosted a Friday morning breakfast Young Life thing at our house in the mornings. They would have breakfast ready for everyone, and basically we'd do like any other normal Young Life club. It'd just be before school we'd have food and do a little mixer, and then someone would speak from the Bible, and then that was kind of like my first idea of what Young Life actually was.
They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all people. And the Lord added to their number daily. In 8th grade, we already had a Bible study, but it wasn't through Young Life. And then Devin and Eric came whenever we were going into freshman year. Devin and Eric are our Young Life leaders, and Devin kind of leads the girls and Eric kind of leads the guys. So that's kind of how I got involved with Young Life. Our Bible study leaders that weren't involved with Young Life kind of found Young Life and was like, hey, you guys should come to Porter Ridge, and it was crazy. I didn't really know what it was. I was like, this is crazy, what is this? But it was so fun.
I was actually invited to Young Life through FCA. I went to 8th grade club and I sat in the back and I was super intimidated, but it was awesome. And so the first time I got involved in Young Life was actually through my friends. We were all kind of like, hey, let's go to Young Life together. This will be a great way to get involved with our school and get to know more people. A lot of kids were going. It was a social thing. I wanted to meet people. But then it started becoming more of me wanting to grow my relationship with Jesus. And I would say that Young Life has just always been that thing that I know that I can go to and grow in the Lord.
And some of you are like, hey, I know that he died on the cross, and that's the picture you have, right? So there's all these different pictures of Jesus that we have.
Yeah, I definitely grew up in church and had a foundation for my faith, but Young Life has given me an incredible community throughout high school that I don't think I would have anywhere else.
Young Life has not only given me this atmosphere to where I'm comfortable expressing it, but it's almost given me this small sense of hope that there's these people who care about me. They're not judging you or anything. It's just they want you to grow closer to God, and there's nothing more satisfying than being surrounded by people like that.
It gives you a community of people who really aren't going to turn their backs on you, and I think that a lot of teenagers in high school are looking for that, and they search in a lot of the wrong places. And I would just say Young Life is a community of people who are going to lift you up and just really point you towards what's important in life, and that's Jesus. So
I have guys that hold me accountable and leaders that hold me accountable, and I can look up to my leaders as spiritual leaders as well as just guys to walk through life with. So Chuck Cronus and Daniel Peterson are my Young Life leaders, and I have awesome relationships with both of them. We love to talk about everything, sports, whatever's going on in the world, but we also have some of the most spiritual, deep conversations that I have in my life. So it's awesome to be able to flip that switch of having normal conversations and spiritual conversations.
Devin is my Young Life leader, and me and her have a really close relationship. I kind of look at her as more maybe an older sister, and she's just awesome. She's always there, if you need someone to talk to, and it's just cool because sometimes when you go to your parents about things, you're you don't really want to listen to your parents because that's your parents, and sometimes teenagers have this thing where they want to rebel and they're well, you don't know anything. But it's kind of cool to have Devin because she'll basically tell you the same thing your parents will, but you'll listen to her more because she's she understands you more, I guess.
To leaders, I would say you are cherished, you are appreciated. It's really important that high school students have other adults in their life that they can talk to because they're younger and cooler than their parents. I just really appreciate that he had other adults that I knew I could trust and that would give him good advice and to encourage him to make good decisions and to love him.
My parents are all for it. They love Young Life as much as I do, and I think it's been really awesome for them to just see how I've grown so much through Young Life, and all my friends and even my younger sister that's involved in Young Life too.
My brother and my mom have both been involved in Young Life, and my mom actually found herself with Christ at Windy Gap, which is cool to kind of relate to, so it's kind of special whenever I go there.
Scott and I got to go as adult guests to Windy Gap while our sons were there, and it's the same. Maybe some of the skits have changed, but actually some of the skits are just the same, and it's the same atmosphere, it's the same fun, but then the same message of the love of Christ.
I didn't want Max to wander in the desert for his high school and college years that he might regret someday. So I wanted him to have an oasis, a faith-based organization where he would grow in his faith. And I began praying that he would get involved in Young Life.
Young Life changed my life. There's so much inside of kids, teenagers, that they don't let out. You know, kids are the same today that I was back then. And I appeared to be very, very happy. But inside I was pretty much a mess, and those were things that not very many people knew, but eventually my Young Life leaders knew that, and they just loved me. You know, I would open up to them just expecting condemnation or judgment, and all I ever received was grace and love.
If I was talking to somebody who wasn't sure about Young Life, wasn't sure about letting their kid come to Young Life, I would just tell them that Young Life is an awesome thing.
I would just say to a young guy, a freshman, sophomore, that people actually care about you, that the guys that are inviting you to club and campaigners, that it's not just meaningless, they're not just doing it because they have to, that they really care about you and they really want you to experience what Young Life has to offer, but not just Young Life, but just what faith and what the gospel message has to offer.
The biggest change that I've seen since I've been in 8th grade and involved in Young Life is just really wanting to know more about who Jesus is, instead of going to Young Life for being social or what everyone's doing or the cool thing. It's just been more about growing my relationship with Jesus more than anything now. So
If there was one thing I could say to my mom when she was my age in high school, I'd probably tell her that Young Life is a good decision or something of that nature.
That wasn't a good
I
answer.
don't know what I'd say to you.
Max, I'm so proud of how you've embraced Young Life and how you've been consistent and you've become a leader. I'm so proud of you.
I would love to tell Tyler that I'm so glad that he's in Young Life. I love seeing him just totally be himself in Young Life, and part of that is because of the love and acceptance from his leaders. He's just free to be himself and free to explore his faith on his own and figure out what he believes about God.
You know, it teaches things to kids about Jesus and God without making them feel bad about themselves. I feel like sometimes kids go to churches and like they feel judged, and Young Life's not like that at all. Like, so many different types of kids come to Young Life, and everybody is always friends, everybody loves each other, everyone is so nice, and it gives an awesome group of people to go to when you need support. So I just think everybody should come to Young Life.